You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. All right. So we had a little issue in my house where, I'm Jewish. And even though we celebrate both Christmas and Hanukkah, I have a big menorah with the blue and silver tree skirts. And I put all the presents around there. So it's like we have our big tree or big menorah. And the damn dog decides to open the gifts. He did this once, or she did this once. We have a new dog. We adopted a new dog, Princess Von Snortia Consuelo the Third. I don't know. I just call her Snort. And I should have learned my lesson once because she opened up. I put one gift down there because I want to make a whole big thing. I want to make it look like we have all these presents, and it's so exciting. And when you see the tree or the menorah and all the presents and whatever. And so she goes into it, and I decide, okay, well, that's ridiculous. I'll tell her no. Bad girl, no do, don't do, bad girl. And she left it alone for a while. And the other dog likes to sit on the tree skirt. Now that the cat that used to always pee on the tree skirt has gone to the farm, we get to start doing this again, rather than just leaving things on tables. Because Shaky Boo used to come and pee all the time on the tree skirt. And it was really frustrating. And I used the off spray. There's a spray called Off that's supposed to scare the animals, but I just don't know what chemicals are in there. And I really don't want to poison, any animal. It might not be poison, but, for a spray like that to deter them temporarily, I'd have to spray a lot of that because this cat would really do a lot of pee-pee. Well, he's gone to the farm, so I'm like, now we can start enjoying the holidays. Well, I come home yesterday after seeing my father-in-law who was in town, and the dog opened up each and every present. And what I did to kind of bulk it up is I had to get them a couple collars, and so I wrapped up the collars, and then I wrapped up some other things, and they opened up the kids' gift, the kids' gifts, and once they saw it was nothing, she did, and then I come in and she greets me with the collar hanging from her mouth, like, look, mommy, look at what I found. And I'm like, how did you know to open up a gift? How did you know that was your gift? And no, I'm not taking you for a walk. So you'd think the dog was stupid, but the dog's pretty smart. But I was frustrated, and I told my husband, this stinks because she's ruining I love the dog, but she's ruining the holidays. And I stopped myself going, okay, the holidays aren't about presents and wrapping paper. And what I was really mad about was, remember I told you that wrapping paper is really expensive? That really ticked me off. She tore through like $5 worth of wrapping paper. I'm not going to wrap the gifts. And and I'm sure my kids already saw them. But I really want that experience with the gifts and all that. But I was talking to one of my friend's moms, and she said, I like Christmas, the religious part, but I really don't like where the holidays have gone. She goes, what they've done with Christmas now, I don't like. Now, I love the lights. I love the trees. I love the songs. I love Santa. But I get that. I think we have two schools of thought. Actually, we have three schools of thought. There's one where you have individuals that just cannot stand the holidays. They have bad memories of childhood, or they're missing their loved ones, and the holidays are very rough on them. And we've spoken about that. But then you have the remaining two groups who like the holidays, but for different reasons. One, because it's the birth of Jesus Christ. You're celebrating that, going to church, getting closer to God, going through, days of Advent and all, and leading up to Christmas, and the religious and biblical significant, the historic significance of it. Really, it's really, really cool. But then you feel like the other side, that's all about Christmas and reindeer and, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer nose, like I have antlers on my car and the nose and all that, it's taking Christmas to another level. Now, I know I don't really have too much of a say on this because I'm Jewish, but we kind of have that same issue with Judaism too. The story of Hanukkah is not necessarily supposed to be about fun and chocolates and all that. I mean, in Judaism, most of our holidays, you know, uh, have to do with death and destruction and temples being, destroyed. Hanukkah really is about the Jewish people being able to become victorious over Greek and Syrian oppressors in the second century BCE, rededicating the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. There was only oil for one night, and the oil lasted 8 nights, which was the miracle of Hanukkah, and that's why we light the menorah. We eat fatty foods like stuvganyot and latkes and things like that. But it's interesting because Hanukkah isn't just supposed to be about dreidel and coins and gifts and lights. But for me, I don't mind that. I love Christmas, Santa, and all that. And I think because it's even though we're having more and more people now embrace religion, I think if you with your family and you guys could do Hanukkah or Christmas any way you want, but where while you're dealing with all the festivities and having fun, whatever, you're also saying now let's just kind of go back and look at why we're here. This is when Jesus was born. I mean, this is when the Jews overcame such a huge army, with the Maccabees, and were able, led by the Maccabees, and were able to reclaim the temple that was defiled, and when we were able to save lives, and so spend that time going, this is where it comes from. This is why we do it. And I think it's important. Go to church, go to temple, go to I think you can do both. Where I see people kind of struggling is where, it's all about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Well, yeah, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is cool, but yeah, Christmas means more than that. And so I get that, but you could still enjoy the Christmas lights, the Rudolph, and I know there's a house that has Santa in an outhouse, and Santa opens up the outhouse and waves. And I know a lot of people don't like that, but it's cute, and people are like, oh, Santa goes potty too. I think for the kids, and are you, if you're naughty or nice, Santa keeps a list. It starts, giving them this compass of, look, things you do will be remembered. And people are watching, whether it's God, whether it's us, so you want to be on the good list and not the naughty list. So I love it all. That's just my opinion. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys. We're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dahlia, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So this article caught my eye. This is being reported by the New York Post. An LA mom orders a driverless Waymo taxi for her daughter. Probably thinking she's not going to be in an Uber. She's not going to be around another person. If it's driverless taxi, my daughter will be safe. Instead, they find a man hiding in the trunk. Whoa. Now, this was a video shared on TikTok. How frightening. You see the guy's hands. It looks like one of these hatchbacks. And the passenger's mother, I think she alludes to him as being a neurotic. I don't know what his diagnosis is, but she berates him. He was apparently, quote unquote, stupefied, curled up in the trunk of a Waymo in Los Angeles. I don't know if he was homeless, whatever. And she screams, "What the blank are you doing in the trunk? This blank won't let me out," the man said. And he smacked the back of the seat of the headrest. She's like, "Why are you in it?" And he said, "They put me in here." In the trunk of a Waymo. So the woman goes, "Who put you in?" He said, "The people. The people." Now, maybe he's hallucinating. Maybe Waymo has a quality assurance program and he's supposed to be the one that's testing this out. I don't know. But police came. He was removed. And the woman remained on the phone with the Waymo representative, according to New York Post, who promised to provide a credit for a new ride. Now, interesting that something so high-tech as a car that drives on its own isn't sensing a change in weight, such as a 185-pound man sitting in the trunk. And don't they have cameras inside the car? This is just crazy. And so, where we are today, which I would have never thought in the 80s, if somebody said, "Dahlia, you're going to one day get into a car with a perfect stranger at night in a strange city." No, I'm not. No, I'm going to get a taxi. And no, there's going to be people that are not taxis and you're going to pay them for them to just drive you. I'd be like, "Oh, hell no." I'd also say the same thing about giving a credit card over the phone or on an app. I'd be like, "Are you kidding me?" But now our daughters and sons and kids are in these cars that with Uber and all that. And I've taken Uber. Every driver we've had has been awesome. But there's this demand for there not to be people around your young daughter, especially after that one girl. Remember? Oh, gosh, this was a year or two ago. She leaves a party and she just goes into the backseat of somebody's car thinking that's her Uber. And I guess he takes her, assaults her, and kills her. And I'm wondering if that's what a lot of predators are doing, where they're pretending to be your Uber. And so they sit there, and if you're not double checking the details, you just randomly get into the car. So now there's this demand for there to be non-humans in the car. Waymo is owned by Google's parent company, Alphabet. They said the support team assisted the customer and ensured she was okay. But if people are sneaking into these things to live or to attack people, that's some scary stuff. Now, Google said, "We're committed to keeping our riders safe and earning the trust of communities where we operate. This experience was unacceptable, and we are actively implementing changes to address this." So the driverless taxi company has used cities like LA, San Francisco, New York as a pilot. for its fleet of autonomous vehicles. But there's been issues. In late October, one Waymo apparently mowed down a bodega cat. It was a beloved cat that hangs around bodegas in San Francisco. And then, I guess, during the height of the Los Angeles anti-ICE protests in June, many agitators ordered Waymos just so they could torch the vehicles. And now, since Waymo made its way to the Big Apple in July, according to New York Post, the robotaxis have been flagged for making illegal U-turns and bizarrely zigzagging through narrow tunnels. I'm not ready to be in an autonomous car. And mind you, I saw Total Recall in the 90s. And that was cool, that you got into a robotaxi and you told them where you could go. And I remember my husband was like, oh, this is something we need to later, I would love that. He is so excited about getting into an autonomous. I'm not. Also, I really love to drive. In fact, even when I drive an automatic, I still have my hand on the shifter. I know it's like shift for reverse or park or whatever, but I feel like my hand has to be on it's just so natural for me because I always drove stick. And I just like driving. I don't want somebody to drive me. I really don't. Now I get it. You're in traffic. It's miserable. I get that. But for me, I just prefer to be in control. But this is some scary stuff. So now we have to remind people that if you're going to get into a Waymo or an Uber or something, you need to check the back. You need to check the trunk. And it's frightening. But this is where we're at. And people ask, will these Waymo, these autonomous vehicles hurt Uber drivers and take over? One thing that I was really excited about during COVID is when people were told they couldn't work, lost their job, Uber, DoorDash, Uber Eats, these jobs ended up exploding. One is because people wanted things delivered, but two, it gave people a chance to work per diem. If they need to make extra money, you know what? I'll pull a couple extra rides. Now, it hurt the taxi business. It hurt other car businesses, but it allowed people who wanted to feed their family to do so. During this shutdown, when the Democrats wouldn't sign, the continuing resolution, many federal workers to pay the rent, they turned to Uber. They turned to DoorDash so that they could make extra money. And I love the idea that if you want to work, there's something you could do. And you can have that opportunity. Well, now that people are so freaked out about who could be driving your child or your child getting in the wrong car or somebody hiding out in the car, there's this big push for your children to not be around other adults, to keep your child away from other adults. And so I do think these cars are going to be a thing of the future. I don't think it's going to happen in the next 2 years, but 5 years, 10 years from now, oh yeah. And it'll be cheaper for the company because, again, they don't have to pay the driver. When you look at what's going on in Australia with this social media ban, people think that their kids are safe because they're home. They're in their room. They're safe. Meanwhile, on social media, the predators are getting to them that way. The one thing about life and these bad, evil people is they find a way to be evil. You could think you're out teching them, but you're not. And they will, if they want to access your child, they'll find a way to do it. They feed their evil. And it just I don't understand why we haven't naturally selected them out. I don't understand why, that we still give birth to individuals who end up later doing things like that. But I guess in human nature, you'll always have bad people. I know people are concerned about what's going to happen in New York now with free buses. So if you have individuals that are now, using the bus for warmth, which I don't blame them, and that's going to be a place for them to stay if they don't have a home, how safe is it going to be? If there's individuals who don't, the homeless population is a population that we need to help. And some of them sadly have mental illness and can be violent. And the others are amazing and they're wonderful. But if somebody's homeless, they're going to find a place where they can stay and live and be safe. And if you don't get kicked off a bus because you don't have to pay now, they're from what we've understand, from what we understand, many of these other cities that have trialed it, the average person needed to use a bus to commute really couldn't get a seat because homeless people used it. And I don't blame them for using it. I would too. It's warm. So we got a lot of work ahead of us to, until we're there, but be wary and check your surroundings. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret.
Powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. So half of us have had gyne exams, half of us not. And it's not an easy thing to do. You are very, very vulnerable. And it's not like you're posing. People are like, oh, it's okay to be naked. You're okay being, people are naked. They pose for swimsuit issues and Playboy. No. You're lying down. You're in a lithotomy position. Knees on, knees out, feet on stirrups. It's a very vulnerable position to be in. You don't care about being in that position when you're giving birth, although it seems to be easier to give birth standing up, but we use lithotomy position because the doctor can at least address any medical issues that could be happening with the baby. So we deliver babies with you in that position. But for gynecological exams, that's what we do. And when I hear a doctor taking advantage of women, being a predator, it kills me. And a question I have is, how the hell was this person not red flagged? How did anybody not pick up that this person was a flippin' predator? So the latest piece of work that snuck through is this gynecologist, the Army Major Blaine McGraw, that is now being sued and accused of secretly filming actually more than 81 women. There's been at least 44 victims, and now there's, I think, 81 more women that are joining this lawsuit in Texas. According to the Army Times, the civil suit alleges that Army Major Blaine McGraw used his position of trust to sexually exploit, manipulate, and secretly record women under his care. The Army Office of Special Trial Counsel charged him Tuesday with covertly recording at least 44 victims. In total, 82 plaintiffs, referred to as Jane Does, have joined the suit filed in Bell County, where McGraw is currently behind bars in pretrial confinement. Many of the alleged victims live in Texas, but others reside in over a dozen states, including Hawaii to New Jersey. In addition to secretly filming, McGraw accusers say he also subjected them to unnecessary procedures, inappropriate sexual contact, and encouraged visits off the books. Photos in the suit provided by his accusers appear to show McGraw providing medical care with his phone positioned in his scrub blouse pocket. So when you wear scrubs, your pockets are down low. And so when you're sitting there, oh my gosh, disgusting. He's innocent until proven guilty. But if he's guilty, oh, there's not a punishment strong enough. That is disgusting. Oh my gosh, piece of crap. I got to be careful because I really want to say what I want to say, but I can't on air. They say McGraw would pretend to receive a call or engage in a brief conversation, then place his phone, in his breast pocket with the camera facing outward. Once the device was positioned, he instructed patients to undress, reposition themselves, or submit to intimate examinations, all while the camera silently captured their exposed bodies. Now, the suit alleges that McGraw conducted a rape kit on a 19-year-old soldier without a chaperone while on his phone. He also allegedly failed to document the examination. While the suit says military officials repeatedly failed to protect McGraw's patients, the Army said the provider was suspended the same day the accusations came to light. He worked at Hawaii's Tripler Army Medical Center before most recently practicing at Darnall Army Medical Center at Fort Hood, Texas. Both locations sent thousands of letters to potentially affected patients, notifying them of the investigation. Now, the Army has not reached out to possible patients at Fort Campbell, according to Army Times, Kentucky, where he served as a physician's assistant before attending medical school. The Army did not immediately respond to requests for confirmation, and the Army's criminal investigation is now investigating. So how the hell did somebody like this get as far as they did in medical school or in the industry? Now, we've had individuals throughout, time over the centuries, obviously, bad individuals get through. But from what I remember with medical school, and I got to go to two because I was at UNR School of Medicine and then UCLA, the program is so rigorous that if you're pretending and trying to you saw everybody's true colors pretty damn quickly. I'm not saying we go back to old school. We can't be doing 36-hour shifts. We can't be yelling at the students. We can't be whatever. But I got to tell you, there were no predators in my class. There were no, now, interestingly, a few years later, there was one that ends up getting arrested, and we spoke about him. But it's really hard to lie and to act like you are really in it for the patient when you are going through the trials and tribulations. And so to get into medical school is a bear. And then once you're there, to be able to last, you be a predator because you were always around people. There were always chaperones. If there was a student saying, "Oh, I'll examine her," or "Oh no, we don't need a nurse," that would have red flags, sirens, alerts would have gone off. They would have been identified pretty easily. One thing I'm a little nervous about now is medical schools are done a little differently. And you have still a lot of remote learning. So medical school, when I went, wasn't remote. Obviously, you had to show up to class. If you didn't show up to class, you were in trouble. So those teachers really got to know you. It doesn't matter the class size. I mean, even me, when I taught, I got to know the students. I made sure to know the students. And so if there was any behavior that looked odd, I'd be able to pick it up. I knew their name. I kind of, I saw some nuances with their behavior. Now, medical professors, they don't even know their students' names. They don't really, they might know some students that come into the office and talk to them or flirt or whatever, but they don't necessarily. And so you could have individuals that you never even meet that you're like, really? You're in this class? And then they get through. But then you would think, well, residency, they got to be picked up in residency. Well, if a hospital's busy, and because the one thing about certain predators and their psyche, whether it's their antisocial behavior or another sort of personality disorder they have, is they're manipulative. They know how to manipulate. So they know how to work the nurse. They know how to work the patient. And so they've developed this persona where people trust them. You know what, honey? You're tired. Go get yourself a cup of coffee. I'll handle it with the patient. You do what you need to do. Now you're starting to get wrinkles under those beautiful eyes. What can I help you with? Let me take care of it. And I mean, they know how to manipulate others. Now, I don't know anything about this guy. I mean, he doesn't look like a charmer to me. But unfortunately, now it's if these people want to hide it, and now they have a lot more ability to, we got to do a much better. We have to screen them before they even get into medical school. And I'm blown away that these people are getting as far as they have. I mean, this guy was a physician assistant. That means he got through physician assistant school, which is rigorous. Became a physician assistant, became a doctor, got through, practiced in multiple areas, and here he is screwing around with his phone. It's disgusting. And it kills me to think that a field that's supposed to be so solemn, so pristine, so sterile, is muddied with such sickening behavior. Now, people ask me, they go, Dr. Dahlia, these doctors are, full-blooded men. Like my patients will ask me about some of these good-looking doctors, that might be, flirting with the nurses or whatever. And they're like, you're telling me that these doctors that are flirting and they know how to identify, they chase, people and they're gonna, really look at me and not think what other humans do. And how I looked at it is, you look at a nose, you look at an ear, you look at a vagina, you look at a rectum. It's not a sexual thing. It's anatomy. And so if you're really, really ingrained in medicine, you aren't sitting there fantasizing and being non-professional. But apparently there are non-professionals that sneak through like this son of a bitch. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Dahlia. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799 and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
On the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. This 6-7 thing we talked about, right? 6-7. These kids are we went into where it came from with the rapper, and it came from drill rap, and he said 6-7, and then Sportscaster linked it to, I forget, one of the basketball players. And 6-7 is this trend where the kids just, anytime they hear 6-7, whether it's accounting in, with exercise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then everybody screams 6-7. So this viral trend that has annoyed a lot of people. I haven't minded it because these kids have done so many stupid things, from the Tide Pod challenge to the fire challenge to snorting cinnamon, that if they're just going to be screaming 6-7, I have no problem with that. That's fine with me. And one video that has gone viral came from In and Out. In and Out got a lot of attention with this, and I don't understand what they're doing. And so, yeah, Doot Doot 6-7 by Skrilla. It has this lyric 6-7, and then oh yeah, LaMelo Ball is 6-7. So when the sportscaster said it, everybody just kind of okay. Anyway, so they're at In and Out. I guess somebody had the ticket 67. So the kid, that was working there, very cutely, goes, all right, guys, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. And then he goes 6-7. Then everybody's yelling and jumping up and down. And I actually like the video. That video makes me smile with In and Out. I think it's, because these kids aren't doing drugs. They're excited about two numbers, right? In a numeric sequence. Yeah, it's stupid, but it's not as stupid as Tide Pods, trying to eat Tide Pods, or licking toilet seats like they were doing during COVID. There was some real stupid stuff people were doing. Well, In and Out now, you would think, after getting all that great press, all that attention on videos, is removing 6-7 from its ordering system. Why would they do that? They had all this attention. So People confirms that the West Coast burger chain has removed 6-7 from their orders, meaning if you're number 68 or 66, you would, and I'm sure people make, there's other numbers that I'm sure people make a big deal about, but 6-7, no sexual connotations. No, and I get it. It was in a drill rap song, but they're just saying 6-7 to say 6-7. They're not doing it to call for violence or anything like that. But apparently they've taken that number. And so, wait, so you'll either be, I guess customer 66 or customer 69 or 68. And I guess an employee at a Los Angeles location confirmed to People that the number was removed about a month ago. And because of people with six senses of humor, they also banned the number 69. So, just what's really interesting about this is we've been telling kids to not do stupid, to not hurt themselves. So they come up with something else to feel, I guess, connected with their community. And then In and Out, who was getting business from this, because I'm sure people are like, look, I want to go to, and it could have been, there's always a backstory. It could have been that people are like, I want to order a burger. What number are we on? Well, the number we're on is like 158. No, then you know what? Never mind, I'm leaving. So it could be, but they weren't a customer anyway. That's not the biggest deal. Or maybe there were some franchisees that said, you know what? Let's just get numbers in the 60s. So then we could just keep doing this and getting more and more attention. So I don't know, but I personally wouldn't have gotten rid of it. I think this was good. But in fact, 6-7 was immortalized as the choice of Dictionary.com's word of the year, a viral, ambiguous slang term that has waffled its way through Gen Alpha social media and social hallways. Largely nonsensical. Some argue it means so-so, maybe this, maybe that. You pair it with a hand gesture with both palms facing up and move alternately up and down, like you're balancing some balls. But they say it is brain rot slang and intended to be nonsensical and playfully absurd. Honestly, guys, it's definitely better than what other kids were doing. Now, Wendy's and Pizza Hut got on board. They have 67-cent Frosty deal and 67-cent wings. All right, good. Listen, there's so many other things people could be doing, so I'm fine with that. This article caught my eye. One thing that I find interesting is when you have one thing I just find fascinating is Bruce Willis could have been in Lord of the Rings. Viggo Mortensen, who played Aragorn in Lord of the Rings, could have been Wolverine. When you look at stars who could have been in it, and I'm glad the movies casted who they casted, but I always find that fascinating. Another topic I find fascinating is this one from Spoiler US, 25 actors who hate their most famous role. Now you're thinking about that. You're like, why would somebody dislike a role that got them famous? So one actor, they say, was Agnes T. Jones, who played, I guess, Jake Harper in 2.5 Men. He, I guess, denounced the show, calling it filth. That was after he got, I guess, a religious awakening, but he did not like that. Andrew Lincoln, who played Rick Grimes in Walking Dead, he apparently said it wore him down, the time away from his family, and left the show. I liked him in Walking Dead. In fact, I think things went downhill after he left. Sally Field, who played Forrest Gump's mom in Forrest Gump, she said that the role didn't offer the complexity she typically seeks. I thought she did a fantastic job, but she likes more challenging roles, I guess. Katherine Heigl, who played Dr. Izzy Stevens in Grey's Anatomy, she said that she wasn't given material worthy of a nomination, and she criticized the show's long working hours and behind-the-scenes drama. That was interesting. I mean, you would think, gosh, get this, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Alec Guinness, who played Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars. He saw his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi as a low point. According to Spoiler US, he found the dialogue clunky and the premise juvenile, once calling Star Wars fairy tale rubbish. Then it typecasted him, and it overshadowed some of his earlier work. Wow. See, I'd be like, thank God, thank God, thank God. Mark Wahlberg was Dirk Diggler in Boogie Nights. And I've heard that some people say Boogie Nights, he's regretted taking that role, and also now he's a lot more religious because there's a lot of explicit content, but he says that role does not depict who he is today. George Reeves, who was the original Superman in the maybe not the original, but he was the most famous TV show Superman. He said it made him difficult to find serious acting work afterwards because he was always typecast as a children's TV hero. He ends up dying in 1959, officially ruled a suicide. But people think it's because of the frustration he had after being typecast as Superman. Because everybody saw him, thought it was Superman. Hugo Weaving, Agent Smith in The Matrix. Very famous in The Matrix. And he was also in Lord of the Rings. He said he didn't want to go to The Matrix Resurrections. He said he had scheduling conflicts. That's interesting. He also prefers stage work. I thought I did a good job in that. Jennifer Lawrence playing Katniss Everdeen in The Hunger Games. She, I guess, didn't like the franchise's intense schedule, massive media attention, made her feel like she was a commodity. I'm blown away by this because I'm like, come on, man. This is a good gig. Daniel Craig playing James Bond. He's been very famously open about not liking that role, and he said he'd rather slash his wrist than return for another Bond film. You were James flippin' Bond. Miley Cyrus didn't like Hannah Montana. Claire Danes and Romeo and Juliet. Christopher Plummer regretted The Sound of Music. No way. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.